morning. Let me start by joining those who have stood before this podium before me and thanking the Minister of Education, Sports, Arts and Culture for the Republic of South Africa, for the Republic of Zimbabwe for hosting us and welcoming us. AfricanBrains for organizing this summit. All honorable ministers and my fellow deputy ministers here present, all protocol observed. Greetings from the Republic of Malawi, from His Excellency, my President, who was Professor Bingwa Mtarika, my Minister, Honorable Dr. George Tapatula Chaponda, all people from Malawi, the home heart of Africa. My presentation will be very brief. To begin with, let me introduce the system of education in Malawi. We follow what we call an 8-4-4 system, and that's 8 classes or grades in the primary section, 4 classes or grades in the secondary section, and 4 classes of years in the tertiary section. Currently, we have about 3,868,643 learners in the primary section, 240,918 learners in the secondary section. We have about 5,392 primary schools and about 1,045 secondary schools. We tried to introduce computer studies in some of our schools, primary and secondary. In the academic year 2000 to 2001, and mark my word, it was computer studies. That's the actual learning of how to use a computer, and not necessarily using the computer as a tool in the learning process. We got some donations of computers, which we distributed to some schools. And in the year 2012, we introduced that as a subject, the art of learning how to use a computer as a subject in senior secondary school levels in some national secondary schools. We, in the same year, passed a policy to use that subject as an optional subject, examinable in the national examinations. And from that year on, we have tried to plan, to purchase, procure, or get computers and distribute them to some schools as part of the teaching and learning materials. ICTE environment in Malawi. We have our overarching policy or strategy that we call Malawi Growth and Development Strategy, MTDS, which seeks to promote and accelerate the social and economic development process of the nation. And when we look at the aims and objectives of this strategy, we see to it that ICT is supposed to be an integral part of it. We cannot do much with this strategy if we don't take on board the ICT. The strategy, MTDS, recognizes the need to improve communication infrastructure nationwide to facilitate the provision and access to vital information. This also means that without the use of ICT, it will be extremely difficult for Malawi to develop a vibrant, globally competitive industry and services sector in the emerging economic order. It is therefore for this reason that the national ICT policy is now currently being developed. The aim of the policy is to improve the operations and efficiency of all sectors of the economy by deploying and utilizing ICT as a facilitator to attain sustainable socio-economic growth, developing ICT as a distinct sector that will facilitate the development of ICT products and improving access to ICT services, especially among the rural communities in the country. ICT policy, according to the way we have defined it, has about 9 themes, and in the Malawi Growth and Development Strategy, it falls under the Human Capital Development. The role of ICT in education. In our own view, we view this ICT as a catalyst for the quick development of education in the world. It identifies the need to tap the potential of ICT to support the professional development of our teachers, improve access to education by remote and disadvantaged communities, especially in the rural areas, provide opportunity to communicate across classrooms and cultures, and strengthen management and administration procedures from the central ministries through all subnational levels to the actual schools. We have developed broad objectives for the ICT in education strategy, and some of them is to develop a highly competitive ICT-driven value-added education services sector with the potential to develop an education hub for the sub-region, to deploy, exploit, and utilize ICTs within the education society, leading to a well-informed society and be part of the global society, to transform vocational training services and environment capable of producing the right types of skills and human resources required for developing and driving the economy of Malawi. The current status of ICT for education in Malawi. ICT penetration and access. Malawi's ICT physical infrastructure is currently underdeveloped. We have very limited physical infrastructure that undermines the coverage, especially in the rural areas. We have improved a little bit on penetration of PCs in the private and public sectors, especially in the urban centers, but the problem is so great in the rural communities. We still rely on radios as the major means of passing information from one area to the other. We want to use the ICT in education in the following manner. As I said in the beginning, ICTs were introduced, computers were introduced just as a subject to kind of expose our learners to the computer, so that in due course we have the ability to use it as a means of, as a tool of utilizing it in the education as a training tool. We now have decided to organize ourselves by developing what we have called an ICT in education policy and an ICT in education strategy. In this strategy, we have grouped the areas of programmatic areas in which we will focus as we introduce it or as we develop it further. We would like to have ICTs for administration and communication, ICTs for basic education, ICT for secondary education, ICT for vocational and training colleges, and ICT for teacher training colleges. We are at the level where we are in the final draft of producing these documents, both the policy and the strategy. So this summit has come at the right time, that whatever we have learned in here or whatever we have seen that is happening in other countries like in Mozambique will be taken part and will actually facilitate the process of developing these documents. Key problems to be addressed if we were to go into ICT full-fledged. We are experiencing poor record management by our school management, low quality resource management, lack of involvement of parents, high absenteeism of pupils and teachers, traditional teaching methods and others. If we were to go into ICT, we hope these things will be history and will move faster in introducing other technologies as we have seen them during this summit. We hope to achieve more because despite the problems that we are having, we have green light at the end. We have opportunities that we can see surrounding us. Among them is good, we are enjoying a good support from all stakeholders in the education sector, be it our development partners, civil society organizations, service providers. All those seem to be on our side when we talk of these ICT in education endeavors. We have also observed a lowering cost trend of communication services on the global market. We have also availability of local competitive internet services. Technological development that is taking place in the worldwide is also another opportunity. We have seen in here that schools can be packed in a box and move from one end to the other. We have seen in here that schools can be packed in a container and use that as a classroom for up to 30 students. All those are to us apparent opportunities that we can forge ahead. Challenges. We talk of limited resources, including human, financial, material, and technological capacity to train personnel. Another big problem to Malawi, which can also be shared with other African countries, is that of overdependence on donor aid, high cost of structures and economy, including transport, communications, and electricity, high ICT illiteracy rate, inadequate institutional capacity, and negative attitude towards technological changes in most of our countries, especially teachers at all levels. And developed infrastructure, talked about that, and poor penetration of communications and mentality of core business, especially when we are planning and when we have stringent budget measures. Usually when you have a budget that talks of ICTs and there is a decision to cut, it is the allocation that goes to ICTs that gets removed from the budget. Thank you so much for your attention. Asante.